The world often looks at extraordinary success and assumes it was inevitable. When people speak about Elon Musk, they usually focus on rockets piercing the sky, electric cars redefining roads, or ideas that seem pulled from the future. What is spoken about far less is the quiet, steady truth his mother once shared, a truth that many admire but few are truly ready to live by. It is not glamorous. It does not promise instant rewards. It does not fit neatly into motivational posters or viral quotes. Yet it is the kind of truth that shapes lives from the inside out. Elon Musk's mother, May Musk, has lived a life that strips away the fantasy of overnight success. A model who walked runways in her 60s. A dietitian who rebuilt her career across continents, a single mother who raised 3 children while facing financial uncertainty. Her story does not sparkle because it was easy. It shines because it was honest. And the truth she shared, whether directly or through her life, is this: struggle is not a sign that you are failing. Often, it is proof that you are on the right path. Few people are ready to hear that. Even fewer are ready to accept it. We live in an age obsessed with speed. Faster results, quicker recognition, immediate validation. Social media shows highlight reels of success without the years of silence, rejection, and self-doubt that came before. Against this backdrop, May Musk's truth feels uncomfortable. She has spoken openly about being broke at times, about starting over with almost nothing, about working relentlessly without guarantees. There was no safety net of certainty. There was only effort, discipline, and belief that dignity comes from continuing, not from arriving. Most people want assurance before they begin. They want proof that their sacrifices will pay off, that their pain has meaning, that their hard work will be rewarded in visible ways. May's truth removes that comfort. It says, you may work hard and still struggle. You may do everything right and still feel behind. And that does not make you weak or foolish. It makes you human. This truth asks something difficult of us. It asks us to detach our self-worth from immediate outcomes. It challenges the idea that success is a straight line upward. Instead, it paints a picture of life as cycles, building, losing, rebuilding again, each phase teaching resilience rather than perfection. When May Musk raised her children, she did not have the luxury of pretending life was always kind. She taught them independence not because it sounded noble, but because it was necessary. She taught them to work, to think, to endure. Not with harshness, but with realism. She didn't shield them from difficulty, she showed them how to face it without losing themselves. That lesson is uncomfortable in a culture that equates love with protection from pain. Yet May's approach reveals a deeper form of care, preparing someone to survive and grow in the real world, not an ideal one. It is easy to encourage dreams when conditions are perfect. It is harder, and more meaningful, to encourage persistence when conditions are harsh. The truth few are ready to hear is that no one is coming to save you. not in the way movies suggest. Not with perfect timing or clear instructions. Progress often begins when you stop waiting for permission, approval, or rescue. May Musk's life reflects this again and again. When opportunities closed, she found new ones. When stability vanished, she created structure through routine and work. When recognition was delayed, she kept showing up anyway. This does not mean she never felt fear or exhaustion. It means she did not let those feelings decide her future. That distinction matters. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear write the final chapter. Many people admire strong individuals from a distance but resist adopting the habits that made them strong. They want confidence without insecurity, success without sacrifice, wisdom without experience. May's truth dismantles that illusion. It reminds us that strength is forged through repetition, of effort, of patience, of showing up on days when nothing seems to move. There is also a quieter truth embedded in her story: you are allowed to reinvent yourself. Again and again. Society often tells us that reinvention is risky, especially as we age. That there is a timeline for ambition, a deadline for dreams. May Musk ignored that narrative completely. She modeled internationally in her 50s and 60s. She became more visible, not less, as she grew older. Her life says clearly, relevance is not about age, it is about willingness to grow. This is a truth many resist because it removes excuses. If growth is always possible, then stagnation is a choice we must confront. Not an easy choice, but a real one. Another uncomfortable truth May embodies is that validation often comes late, or not at all. She worked for years without applause. She struggled privately while others assumed things were easier than they were. The world did not rush to acknowledge her resilience. She learned to find meaning in the work itself, not just in recognition. In a time when likes, shares, and applause feel like oxygen, this truth is hard to swallow. It asks us to continue even when no one is watching, to believe in the value of our efforts without external confirmation. It asks us to trust ourselves. Perhaps the hardest truth of all is this: success does not erase pain. Even at the peak, scars remain. Memories of uncertainty do not vanish simply because circumstances improve. May Musk has never pretended otherwise. She speaks with honesty about her past. Not to dwell in it, but to normalize it. To remind others that a difficult beginning does not disqualify you from a meaningful future. People often look for a single secret behind extraordinary families or individuals. Genetics, luck, privilege, timing. While all of these play a role, May's truth highlights something more accessible: character built under pressure. Values reinforced through action. A mindset that treats hardship as information, not as a verdict. This is why few are ready to hear her truth. Because if struggle is normal, then we cannot use it as an excuse to quit on ourselves. If starting over is possible, then fear of embarrassment loses its power. If growth requires discomfort, then comfort becomes a poor compass, yet within this truth lies quiet freedom. When you stop expecting life to be easy, you stop feeling betrayed when it isn't. When you accept that progress may be slow, you gain patience. When you understand that failure is part of the process, you take risks with less shame. Musk's life does not tell you that you will become famous, wealthy, or celebrated. It tells you something more durable: you can become resilient, capable, and self-respecting. You can build a life that does not collapse when circumstances change. You can raise children, or ideas, or dreams, without guaranteeing their success, but by giving them the tools to try. The truth few are ready to hear is not cruel. It is honest. And honesty, though uncomfortable at first, has a way of setting people free. It frees you from comparison, from timelines that were never yours, from the myth that ease is the measure of worth. If you listen closely, Musk's truth whispers rather than shouts. It says, keep going. Even when it's slow. Even when it's lonely. Even when the results are invisible. Especially then, because one day, without fanfare, you may look back and realize that the very years you thought were holding you back were the ones building the strength you now rely on. And by then, you won't need the world to applaud. You will know, deeply and quietly, that you endured, and that was enough to change everything. There is another layer to the truth Musk shared, one that settles in slowly, long after the words are spoken. It is the understanding that life does not reward intention, it responds to consistency. Wanting something deeply is not the same as working toward it daily. Hope, on its own, is gentle but weak. Discipline, though less romantic, is what carries people through the long middle where dreams are tested. Many people begin with passion. Few remain when passion fades and routine takes its place. May's life reflects a commitment to routine even when excitement was absent. She worked because work was necessary. She showed up because showing up paid the bills, fed the children, and preserved self-respect. There were no dramatic speeches motivating her every morning. There was simply a decision to continue. This is difficult for people to accept because it strips success of mystery. It tells us that there is no hidden shortcut waiting to be discovered, no single breakthrough moment that rescues us from effort. Instead, there are thousands of ordinary decisions made quietly, often unnoticed, that slowly shape extraordinary outcomes. Another truth emerges when you look closely at her story: you cannot outsource responsibility for your life. Advice can guide you. Support can strengthen you. Opportunity can open doors. But no one can walk the path for you. Musk did not wait for perfect circumstances to take responsibility. She took responsibility because circumstances were imperfect. Responsibility is not about blame, it is about ownership. Ownership of your time, your reactions, your priorities. This is frightening for many people, because it removes the comfort of excuses. If you own your life, you must also own the fact that change begins with you, not with others changing first. May's truth challenges the modern tendency to confuse awareness with action. Knowing what you should do is not the same as doing it. Understanding your potential does not activate it. The gap between knowledge and execution is where most dreams quietly disappear. She did not romanticize struggle, but she did not run from it either. She treated it as a season to move through, not an identity to cling to. This is important. Some people become so attached to their hardship that they unknowingly resist growth because growth would require letting go of familiar pain. May's life shows that survival is not the final goal, evolution is. There is also a lesson in humility woven into her journey. She was willing to start from the bottom more than once. Willing to be underestimated. Willing to learn again. Pride did not dictate her choices. Practicality did. In a world that often equates status with self-worth, this humility is rare. Many people would rather cling to an old title than embrace a new beginning. They fear looking inexperienced. They fear judgment. May's truth exposes this fear for what it is, a barrier disguised as dignity. True dignity comes from adaptability, not from appearances. She also understood something subtle but powerful: resilience is not loud. It does not announce itself. It is built in quiet rooms, during repetitive days, through small promises kept to oneself. Resilience grows when you do what needs to be done even when no one is praising you for it. This is why so few are ready to hear her truth. It offers no instant gratification. It does not flatter the ego. It does not promise ease. What it offers instead is agency, the ability to shape your life slowly, deliberately, through effort that compounds over time. There is another uncomfortable realization her story brings: comparison is a thief not only of joy, but of direction. When you constantly measure your progress against others, you lose touch with your own path. May Musk did not try to replicate someone else's journey. She focused on what was in front of her, what her family needed, what her skills allowed, what the moment demanded. This focus protected her from paralysis. It kept her moving forward while others stood still, waiting to feel ready. Readiness, she seemed to understand, is often the result of action, not the prerequisite. Her truth also reframes failure. Failure, in her life, was not a verdict, it was feedback. It informed her next step. It refined her approach. It did not define her worth. This mindset is liberating, yet demanding. It requires honesty without self-cruelty. Accountability without shame. Many people are not ready for this because it removes the comfort of victimhood. It asks you to learn instead of complain, to adapt instead of retreat. It asks you to become a student of your own life. Perhaps one of the most profound lessons in May Musk's truth is about timing. Things did not align quickly for her. Recognition came late. Stability came after uncertainty. Visibility came after years of invisibility. This disrupts the belief that if something hasn't happened by a certain age, it never will. Her life is a reminder that timelines are social constructs, not laws of nature. Growth does not expire. Opportunity does not obey calendars. What matters is not when you begin, but whether you persist. This truth is both comforting and challenging. Comforting because it keeps doors open. Challenging because it removes the excuse of it's too late. If it's not too late, then the question becomes, what are you waiting for? Musk's story also reveals that strength does not require hardness. She did not become bitter despite difficulty. She did not harden her heart to survive. She remained gracious, curious, and open. This balance, strength without cruelty, resilience without resentment, is rare. Many people believe suffering justifies bitterness. Her life shows another option. Suffering can deepen compassion if you let it. Pain does not have to make you smaller. It can make you wiser. The truth few are ready to hear is that life will test you in ways you cannot prepare for intellectually. You prepare by becoming adaptable, not by seeking certainty. You prepare by learning how to stand back up, not by trying to avoid falling. Musk did not raise children who were shielded from reality. She raised children who were equipped to face it. That distinction matters. Preparation is a greater gift than protection. As this truth settles in, it becomes clear why it is resisted. It demands maturity. It demands patience. It demands a willingness to be uncomfortable without becoming discouraged. It asks you to trade fantasies of ease for the quiet pride of endurance, yet for those willing to listen, this truth offers something rare, peace that is not dependent on circumstances. Confidence that is not borrowed from approval. Hope that is rooted in action rather than wishful thinking, and perhaps that is the greatest gift hidden within Musk's message. Not the promise of extraordinary success, but the assurance that an ordinary life, lived with courage and consistency, can become deeply meaningful. This truth does not shout. It waits. It waits for the moment when excuses lose their power, when comparison grows tired, when the desire for something real becomes stronger than the fear of effort. When that moment comes, the truth will be ready. And so will you. There is still more depth to this truth, a quieter dimension that unfolds only when life strips away illusions. It is the realization that resilience is not something you are born with, it is something you practice. And like any practice, it feels awkward at first. You stumble. You doubt yourself. You wonder if you are doing it wrong. Musk's life shows that resilience grows through repetition, not through personality. This matters because many people believe they are not strong enough for the life they want. They assume strength is a trait reserved for others. Her story contradicts that belief completely. Strength is built the same way a muscle is built, through strain followed by recovery, again and again. You do not become strong before the challenge, you become strong because of it. Another uncomfortable truth emerges here: confidence often follows action, not the other way around. Waiting to feel confident before you act can keep you frozen for years. May did not wait to feel fearless or certain. She acted while afraid, while unsure, while tired. Confidence came later, as a byproduct of survival and persistence. This challenges a popular narrative that says you must believe in yourself before you begin. Belief can be fragile when it has no evidence. Action, however small, creates evidence. It builds trust with yourself. Over time, that trust becomes confidence. Her life also highlights the importance of self-respect over self-indulgence. Doing what feels good in the moment is easy. Doing what preserves your dignity over the long term is harder. May chose dignity repeatedly, working instead of giving up, learning instead of blaming, adapting instead of resenting. Self-respect is quiet. It does not announce itself. But it becomes the foundation upon which everything else stands. When you respect yourself, you stop abandoning yourself at the first sign of difficulty. There is also a powerful lesson about independence. May did not raise her children to depend on comfort or constant reassurance. She raised them to think, to solve problems, to stand on their own. Independence is often misunderstood as emotional distance, but in reality, it is a form of deep care. It says, "I trust you to handle life." Many people want support without responsibility. They want safety without effort. May's truth challenges that desire gently but firmly. It says that real empowerment comes when you realize you are capable of more than you thought. Her journey also reveals something subtle about hope. Hope is not passive waiting. Hope is active participation in the future you want to create. It is waking up and doing the next necessary thing, even when the outcome is uncertain. It is continuing despite ambiguity. This kind of hope is demanding. It requires patience and endurance. It does not offer the emotional high of wishful thinking. But it sustains you far longer. Another truth many are not ready to hear is that healing and growth do not always look dramatic. Sometimes growth looks like stability. Like paying bills on time. Like maintaining routines. Like choosing peace over chaos. May Musk's life was not a constant series of breakthroughs. It was a steady climb, with plateaus that taught endurance. In a culture that celebrates extremes, this kind of quiet progress can feel invisible. Yet it is the kind that lasts. Her story also invites a rethinking of failure. Failure is often a chapter, not the entire book. But many people treat it as a final sentence. May did not allow any single setback to define her entire narrative. She kept adding chapters. This perspective requires humility. It requires admitting that you don't have all the answers yet. It requires staying open to learning. Pride resists this. Growth depends on it. there is also wisdom in how she viewed success. Success was not just about achievement, it was about sustainability. About building a life you can continue to live without burning out or losing yourself. She worked hard, but she also valued health, structure, and balance. This truth matters in a world that often glorifies exhaustion. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It is a warning sign. May's longevity, in work, in visibility, in relevance, suggests that pacing yourself is not laziness, it is strategy. Another layer of her truth is about forgiveness, particularly self-forgiveness. You will make mistakes. You will misjudge situations. You will choose poorly at times. Holding on to shame only drains energy needed for growth. May's ability to move forward required letting go of what could not be changed. Self-forgiveness is not denial. It is acceptance paired with responsibility. It is saying, I did what I could with what I knew, and now I will do better. This is difficult for many because shame feels like accountability. It isn't. Accountability leads to change. Shame leads to stagnation. Her life also shows that inspiration does not always come from extraordinary events. Sometimes it comes from ordinary persistence. From watching someone refuse to collapse under pressure. From seeing consistency outlast chaos. This kind of inspiration is subtle. It does not excite you, it steadies you. It gives you permission to continue. The truth few are ready to hear is that no phase of life is wasted if you are learning. Even the years that feel unproductive can be shaping skills, perspectives, and strengths you will rely on later. Musk's earlier struggles did not disappear, they became resources. When you stop labeling seasons as failures and start seeing them as preparation, your relationship with time changes. You become less anxious about speed and more focused on direction. Her story also reminds us that it is okay to want a better life. Wanting more does not make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. Gratitude and ambition can coexist. You can appreciate where you are while still working toward where you want to be. Many people suppress their ambition out of fear of disappointment. May's life suggests another approach: pursue your goals with realism, not fantasy. Work steadily, adjust when needed, and remain open to unexpected paths. Perhaps the deepest truth embedded in her journey is this: meaning is not found at the end of the road, it is created along the way. In the effort. In the choices. In the refusal to give up on yourself. This truth is not glamorous. It will not trend easily. But for those who are tired of shallow promises and quick fixes, it offers something solid. It offers the knowledge that you do not need to be extraordinary to build an extraordinary life. You need to be consistent, adaptable, and willing to continue, and in that willingness, day after day, something powerful quietly takes shape. A life that stands, not because it was easy, but because it was lived with courage. At the deepest level, the truth Musk shared is not really about success at all. It is about identity. About who you become when life does not turn out the way you imagined. About what remains when titles, comfort, and certainty are stripped away. Many people chase outcomes, but May's life points to something more enduring, character built through honest living. When you no longer measure yourself only by achievements, you begin to notice different victories. The ability to stay calm under pressure. The courage to start again without bitterness. The discipline to care for your health, your mind, and your responsibilities even when motivation fades. These victories rarely make headlines, yet they are the ones that quietly shape destiny. Another difficult truth emerges here: you will outgrow some people, and some people will not understand your choices. Growth changes you. It changes your priorities, your boundaries, your tolerance for chaos. May Musk did not wait for universal approval before moving forward. She accepted that being misunderstood is often part of becoming yourself. This is painful for many because belonging feels safer than becoming. But belonging that requires you to shrink is not safety, it is stagnation. Growth sometimes means walking alone for a while, trusting that clarity will eventually attract the right connections. Her story also teaches that peace is a form of success. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of inner steadiness. May cultivated peace by accepting reality rather than fighting it. By working with what was available instead of resenting what was missing. By focusing on what she could control. This kind of peace is powerful because it cannot be taken away easily. It does not depend on applause or circumstances. It comes from alignment between values and actions. There is also a profound lesson about legacy. Legacy is not only what you leave behind materially, it is what you model daily. May Musk modeled perseverance, self-respect, adaptability, and courage. Those qualities shaped her children more deeply than any lecture ever could. This reminds us that people are always watching, not in judgment, but in learning. Especially children. Especially those who look to us quietly. The way you handle adversity teaches more than the way you talk about success. Another truth few are ready to hear is that comfort can be more dangerous than hardship. Comfort dulls urgency. It encourages delay. Hardship, while painful, sharpens focus. May's periods of struggle forced clarity. They demanded action. They removed distractions. This does not mean suffering is desirable, but it does mean it can be transformative if faced honestly. Growth rarely happens when everything is easy. Her life also shows the importance of boundaries. She did not waste energy trying to convince people who were committed to misunderstanding her. She invested in what mattered: work, family, health, and progress. Boundaries protected her energy and allowed her to move forward without constant emotional drain. Many people exhaust themselves explaining, defending, and justifying their choices. May's truth suggests a quieter strength: let your consistency speak. Over time, results speak louder than explanations. There is also wisdom in how she approached aging. Instead of resisting it, she embraced it. She treated age not as a limitation, but as an accumulation of experience. This perspective is rare in a culture obsessed with youth. Yet it is deeply freeing. When you stop fearing time, you stop rushing. When you stop rushing, you make better decisions. When you make better decisions, life becomes more sustainable. Another layer of her truth is acceptance without resignation. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means seeing clearly. From clarity comes effective action. May accepted her circumstances, but she never surrendered her agency. This balance, between realism and hope, is difficult to maintain. Many people swing to extremes, denial or despair. Her life shows a middle path, honesty paired with effort. As everything comes together, the truth becomes clear. Life does not owe you ease. It does not owe you fairness. But it does offer you something far more valuable, the chance to respond with integrity. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you meet it. This is the essence of Elon Musk's message, whether spoken or lived. It is not flashy. It is not comforting. But it is empowering. Few are ready to hear this because it demands responsibility without guarantees. It demands effort without applause. It demands patience without deadlines, yet for those who accept it, something shifts. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this asking of me?" That shift changes everything. You become less fragile, less reactive, more grounded. You stop waiting for life to begin and realize it has been happening all along. In the end, the truth Elon Musk shared is simple, but not easy. Keep going, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Not because success is guaranteed, but because becoming someone you respect is worth the effort. And when you reach a place of steadiness, maybe not fame, maybe not wealth, but self-trust, you will understand something quietly profound. The struggle did not break you. It shaped you. That understanding is not loud. It does not seek attention. It settles into you like a calm certainty, and once you have it, you no longer need to prove anything to the world. You know who you are. That is a truth few are ready to hear, but for those who are, it is enough.